Welcome to the Pay Love Forward podcast. My name is Dr. Matthew Leavenworth, and I'm the founder of Pay Love Forward. This series shares the stories of Montana's quiet builders of compassion, those who choose to lead with courageous authenticity. At Pay Love Forward, our mission is to build compassionate communities for the at-risk and underserved through mentorship. This podcast is one way we live out that mission. Pay Love Forward is partnered with Resilient Stories, an organization dedicated to amplifying the voices of courage, recovery, and renewal across Montana. Together, we're committed to hearing the story within the story, the deeper narrative of resilience that connects us all. In this episode, the second of our Women's Issues series, congressional candidate Alani Bankhead and I sat down with Ashley and Talee to discuss the disappearance of Jamee Grossman, Ashley's sister and Talee's mother. Jamee went missing in 2012 and has not been seen since. According to Nonstop Local, Jamee was last seen at a party with her boyfriend, Frank Hammontree, who reported dropping her off at a gas station. According to Channel 8, there was no footage of this drop-off ever taking place. This episode was recorded an hour after a vigil held for Shawna Hart. Shawna was murdered by her ex-boyfriend, a man she had a restraining order against and had previously been imprisoned for assaulting Shawna with a deadly weapon. Just like in Jamee's disappearance, questions remain as to why this horrible crime was not prevented, and our city is going to have to answer those. More than that, we're going to have to do better. We're sick and tired of our women going missing. We're sick and tired of the abuses of power, of the corruption embedded in our system that allows these crimes against women to continue to happen. As a city, we're calling for change. We can no longer accept the levels of domestic violence or sexual assault that occur on our streets every day. This is a call to our city not to place blame or scapegoat, but rather to look this problem in the face, ask hard questions, and demand that we address them with everything that we have. At every level. This episode is dedicated to our brothers and sisters in blue. Some of the finest people I know go out on the streets every day and put their lives on the line to keep us safe. What you do is holy work. This conversation is with two of the finest. Both Alani and Ashley are law enforcement officers. This is a hard conversation, and based on the available information, not enough was done to prevent the murder of Shawna or find justice for Jamee. We're calling for that justice now. We're asking that Jamee's case be reopened. We're asking for accountability and transparency within law enforcement, and we're asking for deep systemic change. This episode contains discussions of sexual violence, trauma, and loss. If you or someone you know needs support, call or text 988, dial 211 for mental health resources, or contact the National Sexual Assault Hotline, 1-800-656-HOPE. The world needs better stories, and Pay Love Forward and Resilient Stories intends to tell them. And we are officially live. All right. Well, so I'm excited. We were talking about the word excited, but to have this conversation with all of you guys. And I'm just going to start off and give some kind of background for how this conversation came about. And I am just coming. I literally just drove home from, her name is Shawna, but she's a woman who was killed in Billings through domestic violence. And we just went to her vigil. It's over at on the courthouse lawn, and people, it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking to be part of, but I also know that people are very angry right now, and people are demanding justice in some new ways, and so that was, I'm fairly aware of the case with Shawna as well, and it's really interesting. So I have a friend on the police force, very good, very dear friend of mine, and there's a proposal that's floating around BPD right now. It was a proposal that was it's for a rapid response task force. And so it's like a reallocation of their resources. But to make this proposal, that my friend, he was doing some research to make the case, and was like, these are the guys that we'd go after if we had this rapid response unit. And he identified Shawna's killer 2 weeks prior to this taking place. Like, so this is, and I know he's dealing with that this is, he didn't identify the person to go after him. He just said, look, if we had this capacity as law enforcement, this is the type of person that we would target. And if we had that capacity, like, obviously that was one of two people that were identified, and this would have been prevented. And so, there's so much grief in that. But also right now is a moment in time where we can start calling for those types of actions, those types of responses. Like as a community, we need to figure this out, because Billings, my city, man, our country, we were just tired of women going missing. We are tired of women getting murdered. We are tired of sexual violence, and we are tired of, and people are ready to stand up. And I mean, this is the age of Epstein. So, we're watching this stuff unfold at a national level, at a state level, and then right here in our community. And so that's kind of where things are at for our city right now. But the background of even our conversation here is really interesting. I'm the founder of Pay Love Forward. It's a nonprofit. We work with at-risk underserved youth, and we do mentoring and coaching, and we build compassionate communities. And I launched this podcast to focus on leadership and mentoring. And then all of these things come into my world. They keep coming into my world, and to me, they demand a response. Like they're so pressing. And there was a number of conversations I wound up having, and so this is part two of a series that is dedicated. Like, I have a platform, so like I'm going to use that platform to advocate for these things, right? Like, this is so important, and so this is part two of kind of I've called it women's issues, but yeah, I mean, the domestic violence, sexual assault, those things are just predominantly things that women experience, and men are often the perpetrators. And so the first episode was with a gal named Leah Bossler. And she's just phenomenal. I mean, it was just a beautiful story that she told. She was so eloquent. She was so strong. And she because the first time I met her, she told me this story about a near abduction experience in Billings. She was on a fire crew and came through Billings, and like they attempted to roofie her. She barely got away. She got back to Missoula. She called the police department here, and they just didn't do anything about it. And then she kept researching the issue, and from that same location, this is according to Leah, three more women went missing. And so when we don't do something about this, we're letting killers go, right? Like there's a predator on our streets because that wasn't responded to, and we pay a price on the back end as well. And so she told me that story, and I was just like, oh, I was sick to my stomach when I heard that story. And then through a tattoo artist in town, Sunshine Phelps, who's one of my favorite people, I think she does tattoos, Ashley, for your husband, and
Emmy.
and you as well. Yeah. And she did a mural for Pay Love Forward at the skate park. And she put me in touch with you. And then I think we connected, and you told me this story and this was like, these were days apart when I heard these two stories. And you told me this story. And again, my stomach just dropped. Like, this is agonizing stuff, right? Like, this is just horrible. And it was such a similar story that to me, it demanded a response. Like, this stuff has come into my life, and then connecting with Alani, and so we got to tell these stories because silence is what breeds the continuation of these types of problems and these types of diseases they're just here. And I'm raising my kids in this community. My wife, my daughter, I think about them, right? Like, if like, I do not want to live in a city where women go missing and nobody goes looking for them. And so this is personal for me. It's personal, I think, for women everywhere right now in this moment. And so you told me this story, and this story is about your sister, Ashley. And please, at any point, correct me if I get anything wrong, but she went missing in 2012. And it is boy, I mean, we'll talk about the story in a little bit, but alarming. And it felt to me like she went missing, and nobody really went looking for her in a meaningful way. And now, so we're here right now with Ashley, who is Jamee's sister. Jamee is the woman who went missing in 2012, and Talee is her daughter. And that, to me, that was like the last, when you introduced me to Talee, and it's like, this is a little girl who wants to know what happened to her mom, and deserves those answers as well. And then also Alani is here, and Alani is a bad guy hunter. And I'm going to let you guys kind of introduce yourselves in just a second, and then we're just going to tell the story. We're going to talk about who Jamee was, and who Talee is, and what happened, and how we can get justice for this. I mean, I think that is a huge part of this conversation. This is about not only getting answers, Talee, because you deserve answers. You deserve to know what happened to your mom, but also getting justice for Jamee as well. And so maybe Alani, you can start, and then we'll kind of circle around, and we're going to tell Jamee's story and Talee's as well. And Talee, like, yeah, I mean, I felt this way about Leah too, like the courage that you're showing right now, and that Leah showed, and like, it's just profound, and I'm so deeply moved and inspired to stand with you and to fight with you and demand better from our city and from our nation. So Alani, yeah, take it away.
Yeah, no, thanks, Matt. It's such an honor to be here with you and Ashley and Talee. And that was a really great setup for this conversation. I also just want the listener to know that I'm really grateful that they're here, that they're willing to bear witness to this conversation, and that honestly, we're going to be holding a mirror up to our society, and that's a really hard thing to do. So if folks have to take a break, please do. It's not weakness. I come out of these conversations oftentimes feeling really heavy because these are really sad, hard things, but these are necessary conversations, and I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it right now. So my name's Alani Bankhead. I'm a retired special agent on the federal side. So I was an Air Force Office of Special Investigations agent. I retired from service with almost 22 years. I've hunted terrorist spies and traffickers all over the world. I specialize in child sex crimes and violence against women. And I've worked these operations and cases on 6 continents. So I have a lot of experience, and I see a lot of the themes that come up in terms of violence against women. And as heartbreaking as it can be, there's a lot of hope when people have conversations like these. These issues are so much more widespread than folks in general society really want to admit. And even though I know we're in a really hard season in our country right now, I think conversations like these are what bring the hard stuff to the light so we can disinfect it and heal it. And miracles happen too, it would be incredible if we could get some closure for this beautiful family, and get justice on behalf of mom and sister and fellow community member. And, that's one thing I forgot to mention. I'm running for US Senate as well, which is like the least important thing about my bio right now. But part of why I'm running is because I hate bullies, and I hate seeing how power is abused to inflict pain on weaker individuals. I think it's unacceptable. And frankly, governments exist first to continue existing. That's what national security is. I have a master's in international relations. But the second reason why governments exist is because of the social contract between constituents and the government that says we will provide you with the best possible quality of life. And that includes protection from harm. And that's not happening in a lot of our communities right now. And that's part of why I'm running, because I've seen too much violence and I understand the pitfalls of the justice system. And frankly, we need to do better as a government. So I'm really excited. I get to spill my guts on all the things that my public affairs officer would not want me to say, but I'm retired now. And so I'm here to support Ashley and Talee in sharing their story and pointing out the parts where we failed them as a government, and in the hopes and the belief that we are going to make the system better at the end of the day. So thank you both for being here. It's really courageous. It's very rare to find individuals who are willing to go publicly talk about these kinds of things. Selfishly, in the past, I've always been like, I wish there were more because these stories are so powerful, but they're so hard, right? But so the light that you two are shining today is so bright, and I want you to just know and believe that it's going to change a lot of lives today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, Ashley, why don't you go next, and then we'll talk to Talee. I think I got a lot of questions for Talee about your mom. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that works. So my name is Ashley, and I am Jamie's stepsister. I have known Jamie the majority of my life. I was born in 85 and she was born in 86, I believe. She's like
1986.
1986. So I had bragging rights. I was a whole 6 months older than her. Because she was born in April of 86 and I was born November of 85. So, I pulled rank.
87.
87? Oh, okay. So 87. I was a year and a half older. That's even better.
Yeah.
So Jamie's dad and my mom got married when it was either 1992 or it was 1996. It was a leap year. And her dad, Dave, and my mom, Yvonne, they had been together for a while before. So it wasn't like that marriage was the first time that we had gotten together. She was just always my little sister. She was sweet. She was fun. She was caring and compassionate. And I just feel like it's time for the answers to come out. It's time for somebody to say something. We've gone way too long being quiet. Her mom deserves answers. Her two daughters deserve answers. I would love answers. And I know that there's a whole boatload of people that would like answers regarding this case. So that's why we're here. And that's why we want to get justice for Jamie and get some answers.
Ashley, what's a story that comes to mind about Jamie? Maybe something that you just still carry with you in your heart.
So there was a time that, and I think the house is up here in the Heights, if I remember correctly, but the four of us, my mom, me, her, and her dad, Dave, had moved into this house. And there was a room that had pink unicorn wallpaper in it. And we both wanted that room, right? Because because
I mean, yeah,
because
pink unicorn. It's awesome.
yeah, we fought over it. I ended up getting it, right, because I'm the oldest, so here we are. Exactly. Yeah. And we ended up fighting so much to the point that our parents took the doors off the hinges, and just like we had to earn our privacy and get that respect back. So she was just fun and ornery. She matched energy. If I got a little spicy, she would get spicy back. We played a lot of games. We kind of grew up mostly on the north side and the south side of Billings. We rode our bikes around a lot. We loved watching Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen TV shows. And we would pretend like we were these little detectives going around the neighborhood solving these crimes of like somebody's bike went missing. And we're gonna find it. So Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen will solve any crime by dinner time was, I think, the theme of the TV show. I can't remember the name of it, but we grew up in the Olsen twin era, and they were our heroes. We loved them. And yeah, so it's just lots of fun memories with her, lots of growing up. And eventually, she had Talee, which was amazing. I was there right after Talee was born, and I've got pictures of me holding her as a newborn.
Yeah.
And then not long after that, Cameron was born.
Yeah.
And I had both of the girls at my dorm room pretty frequently when Jamie had to go to work. So I was very popular in the dorm because all of the girls,
the babies.
Yes, all the girls wanted to come and see the babies that I had in my room. So they didn't make it easy to get homework done, but I did it. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed helping take care of them while Jamie worked. And yeah, it was great growing up with her and having her for a sister.
Just talking about her, like, she's that type of person you boast about. You talk about her like no other. She was just awesome. Like, she was just such a breath of fresh air and just so grounded. Like, she was just amazing. She was just so cool.
I can hear that bubble up in you, like when you think about her, that there's a lot of joy there.
Yeah,
there is.
Yeah. Well, and Ashley, so you're a probation officer here in Billings.
Yep. I am, yeah.
And then also you're in your master's program, and that's connected, correct, to what your family has been through?
It is. It's very connected. So I know that growing up, Jamie and I didn't necessarily have it easy with our parents, our parental situation. There wasn't a whole lot of abuse necessarily. I would say maybe more neglect. I know that they liked weed, which was illegal at the time. It's legal now. I don't have any qualms about the legality of it. They liked to drink. My mom drank quite a bit and had multiple DUIs. She ended up being sentenced to the Montana Women's Prison. I know that Jamie had some sobriety issues, some legal issues. And it's one of those things that it definitely helped shape who I am, and who I have been as a counselor. It has shaped who I have been as a PO. I treat all of the offenders that I work with respect up until the point that they show me they don't deserve it. I don't treat them like an AO number. I treat them like a person. They're a mother, they're a brother, they're a son, they're a daughter. They have kids. I sat in on a very rough sentencing about a week and a half ago in Carbon County, and I came home and I cried. It was just a very heavy day listening to the victim. Was a 20-year-old male, and he died because of the choices that this lady had made to use marijuana and then drive. And so I sympathized greatly with his family, and listening to his mom, his sister, his grandpa, talk about what a great kid he was. And then on the same side of that token, I saw her family there to support her. She had 3 minor children. I know personally what those kids are going to have to go through, having an incarcerated parent. And it's interesting to be criminal justice and a counselor, because I see all sides of the story, and it's frustrating because the system is broken from the top down. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm
I just hear so much compassion, and it seems like that compassion, and also like you're a probation officer, so you got to be hard ass, right? Like that's part of the terrain as well. But but you can empathize with what people are going through, and that kind of a situation that you're describing in court, it's easy to point fingers but like actually it's just heartbreaking. And people are hurting, and people make bad decisions, and it seems like you have that kind of a perspective, and that was born out of these childhood experiences with Jamee and your parents, and that has allowed you to I don't know, be a force for good, which Ashley, you certainly are.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it definitely shaped who I am as a person, and the good times and the bad times, like, because we had good times. I remember my mom taking. We lived down on the north side, and my mom was like, okay, well, we're going to the zoo. Cool. Didn't have a car. So the 3 of us, me, her, and Jamie, got on our bikes, and we rode our bikes all the way to Zoo, Montana. And when
that's a long bike ride. Yeah.
It is. I definitely won't be able to do that now. And it was rough at that age.
One and done.
Yeah, one and done. That was enough of that experience. We didn't ask to go to the zoo ever again, I don't think.
That's so fun though. Let's go do it and get on some bikes and ride like at least 10 miles. At least.
Yeah, we took a lot of breaks. I know that, because I was probably, 8, 9, 10, something like that. So Jamie was, a year and a half younger than me. And we did it. We got to the zoo, and we walked around and sat there for a few hours, rested up, and then rode our bikes back home.
Yeah.
It's a really fun story.
Yeah.
Talee, I want to hear your bio. Like, who are you? What do you do? Where did you get to high school?
Okay, so I'm Talee. I went to Skyview, just right up here in the Heights. I've lived my whole life in the Heights. So I lived with my great grandparents. So it was my mom's grandma. They kind of took everything over when my mom kind of went AWOL. So my grandparents stepped in. I lived with them for a majority of my life. I think once I was 6 or 7, they took me in, and I was hanging out with them for my whole life. They just passed away, actually, about, what is it now? Oh my gosh, 2 years. It's been 2 years, which is crazy. It feels like yesterday. But it definitely goes by fast. Yeah, I lived with them for a really long time. And they definitely protected me from a lot of information growing up just about my mom, and the depth of which it happened, and just everything went down, and how nobody came forward, and there are no answers, and they didn't have anything to tell me. Like, they didn't, they couldn't tell me each and every person's claim and what everyone thought happened. And when I was younger, they just couldn't explain that information to me. So
they had to carry that on your behalf and protect you, and and obviously, of course they love you, and they're just trying to, they're grieving, but that they were able to carry that for you.
Yeah. and they just like my grandma, she was just, my mom was her baby too. I mean, my mom was always over at my grandma's house. So when she was gone, it like hit my grandma so hard, but she still just, she took everything over. She made it easy for me. She made me happy. Like I definitely got a good second chance of life after that. It was pretty awesome. They were like my saving grace. So
how long before Jamie disappeared did you live with your grandparents?
Maybe a year,
Okay.
6 months-ish,
Okay.
because it happened so fast. Like it was like we were she started acting a little weird, and then it was just putting me and my sister in some pretty bad situations. And then my grandparents and my sister's father kind of took over that situation and got us out of that. And then my mom was alone after that, and she just gave up, maybe is the right word to use. She kind of gave up. She started living life on the edge and just doing crazy things, and it kind of,
I think she got involved in some serious substance use, and
yeah,
started
almost definitely. Yeah,
that's kind of when other people had to step in.
Yeah, because I mean, once you get that, you don't have anything to live for. I mean, me and my sister were gone away from her. I mean, she'd lost her kids, and it was just us three, against against the world. So it was like she lost her kids, she gave up. I mean, and that's kind of in the most simplest form, that's what happened. But there's just so much more that goes into it. I think it was the people that she was hanging around, the things that she got thrown into, the guys that maybe got her into most of those things. I mean, you can't put it all on her. And just knowing her, kind of knowing what she was going through, you just can't put it all on her. Like she made some bad decisions, but she was smart, and she cared about her family, and she was family oriented, and she cared about just everything. When people say, I think a couple news articles, or my grandma, when she was on television on the news when it first happened, she had said she was just, that my mom, she would give like you the clothes on her back, like that saying. And it was so true. It's overused, but it's definitely, like, she was just so awesome. Like she was just like a ray of sunshine, and what happened to her wasn't okay. And even since I was a kid, just watching my family and everyone around me be so angry about it, like you knew something went wrong. Just like me being so little, watching everyone kind of spiral with me after it happened.
Yeah, you're just, like, I mean, it's the lens of a child, right? But you're perceiving and you're witnessing and you're trying to put this information together, and your mom's gone, and you're just trying to make sense of your world, and it keeps going, and that's so hard. And I'm glad you had some people that were there for you through that process. Talee, I wanted to ask you, and it was kind of the question that I asked you in preparation for this, but if you wanted to say something to your mom, as if writing a letter, or as if, just to talk to her, what do you want to say?
Honestly, I just have so many questions and so many updates. Like the first thing I would tell her is probably about like my grandparents and just what they did and how easy they made it. When she, went missing, and the life that I've lived without her being here, like the things that I've endured, how many times that I've just begged for her to be here. And even though it wasn't her fault, it's just, how many times that I've just like wanted my mom, like I would definitely want to, just to have a conversation with her and ask her all of these questions would be my dream. Like, I want to ask her what happened, who are you with, like, I have just forgetting about being so young and ending up forgetting about all of your memories that you have with her. You just want to ask her so many things, like throughout these years, what happened? That's the biggest question I have, is what happened, and what happened when all three of us were together. And I just want a whole rundown of if there is just that slightest bit of hope that she's still alive and I would get to ask her these questions. I would just want her to just sit down and talk to me for hours and hours and just run down these last 14 years. So
it's interesting just how you responded to that question. Like it's almost just a desire for the relationship. Like there's things that you want to tell her, but it's more like the act of telling her. Like, well, that's what you want, is just to be with her, just to share those moments, to share those memories, and that's what was taken away.
Yeah, just being in her company is a different energy. It's just so healing, and she was so grounded and just an amazing, awesome person. And I just want to hear the life that she lived. I mean, when you're 6, you can't really sit down and have an adult conversation with your mom, you know? So it's like sitting down and talking with her now would be an insane experience, just to, you know, have that girl time with your mom. It's like a bonding thing. So not having that, it was hard growing up, you know, like seeing all my friends with their moms. I was like, but my grandma, she swooped in. She swooped in. She was like my rock during that time. She took that for me.
I do remember that your grandma and your grandpa had mentioned to me a couple of times, I think when you were younger, you and Cameron both, like, you know, kind of had that feeling of my mom left me, you know, and I always just wanted you guys to have the point of, she did not leave you. She did not willingly walk away. She would never have left you guys, especially without any kind of notice or preparation. Like, that's not who she was. She loved you guys.
But Talee, for you as a child, there was that feeling of abandonment. I mean, that was present there, and you're looking around and you're seeing your friends with their parents, and
almost not that I was feeling like that anger or feeling at fault for that. Like, mom isn't coming to see me, it must be my fault. I never really felt that feeling. It was just the feeling of like, wow, where is she? Just question. Like, I always just had a question. I was a very questioning child. I always questioned people, and I was just like, where is she? What is she doing? Why isn't she calling? And it was hard when I was asking everyone around me, and they knew what was going on a different level. They didn't necessarily have answers, but they knew what was going on, and they just didn't know how to tell me. And with how much I was asking, I applaud everyone, because it's so hard. That would have been so hard.
Yeah, but there was there's a presence of her, and you could feel its absence. And that absence was always with you, and of course, like, you're just a kid, and like you just constantly feel that, and so you're trying to find out why.
Yeah, it was hard growing up, and even still now. I mean, once you get to a certain age, you get older, you depend on your parents a little more. Maybe you have those conversations because you get to the age where you're an adult and you can have those actually matured conversations with your parents, maybe laugh about some things that you did when you were a teenager. And I just didn't have that. And then I didn't really have that with my grandparents either. So I was like, I don't know. I have that with other people around me now. But I mean, the first person that I was supposed to do it with, my mom, it just didn't work out that way. And I definitely feel even just the grief of losing that, like that whole relationship, just like not having it whatsoever. So that was probably the hardest part to get through, is just that it probably won't ever be there. So
and Talee, and because we need to talk about kind of what happened. I mean, that's part of this conversation as well, but what would you say to your grandparents if they were here right now?
Oh gosh, I mean, so much has happened. I mean, I got their house. I'm getting that their house put in my name. I'm trying to fix it up and make it beautiful.
You're
something that my grandparents just they got really old, and they just couldn't do things like they could before. And so kind of making that house beautiful again, like I wanted to do that for them. It was hard. Like, I went through my senior year of high school by myself. And that was something that we had talked about my whole life, like graduation and college and that whole thing. It was so hard just doing that by myself, you know? So it's just kind of like I said with my mom, it's just kind of that relationship that you miss. I would just want to update them and kind of tell them what I've been doing, like make them proud. That's the main thing, make them proud, you know?
Because during your senior year, you worked 3 jobs, right?
I did.
And went to school.
I did. Yeah, I was working hard.
Talee, I can't see anybody that knows you not being incredibly proud.
Yeah.
Just
and
for the
that's what
record.
I wanted for them, And I just wish a lot of the things that I had now I could have given to them. Like just offered more help, not been in such a, because I was a teenager, I was kind of bad. I was kind of a bad
teenager stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alani too, and Matt.
Yeah. So you kind of wish that now that you've matured and kind of have a good, headspace on, what's going on, you're more aware. I definitely feel like I could have been more like helpful towards them right now, being older and just things like that. So definitely miss them. That was really hard. Going just the age that happened, and just the 2 people that have taken care of me my whole life, the 2 people that I depend on the most were taken from me after back to back. They were 5 days apart. It was crazy. Yeah, just the way it happened. But yeah, and then the first person that was supposed to take care of me, I definitely felt very angry in that time once my grandparents passed. It kind of brought up just more memories about my mom. Just those feelings of abandonment, like just kind of pure abandonment. I was like, wow, guys, like I'm kind of feeling lonely right now. Of just like, where are you all going?
Right.
I'm still here.
Yeah. But my grandparents, they were just so awesome. Like that anger dissipated very quickly because you just can't say a bad thing about my grandparents. They were kooky, crazy. They were fun, eccentric. They were always doing something. They were always, they were just the best people you could have ever met in your life. Everyone who has met them has loved them and still talk highly about them to this day. They were just awesome. They're the type of person that you remember, even if you only meet them once, you remember them.
Question for both of you guys. What's a story that comes to mind about Grandma and Grandpa?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, you go first. I'll think of some of the best ones.
So since Jamie and I were part of that blended family very early on, I'm super familiar with Jan and Betty, who are Jamie's grandparents, the ones who basically raised Talee. And I just remember Christmases at their house. We would go over there for Christmas, me and my mom, Dave, and Jamie. And I think now that I'm a grown up, I know a little bit more about the world. I think that they took out a second mortgage on their house almost every year to prepare for Christmas.
Yeah.
And they would do big presents for like Dave, his 2 brothers, Mike and Aaron, like recliners, things like that. But then for the little presents, we had to dig cash out of like tampon wrappers and stuff.
It was the gag gifts that they
funny.
would spend weeks, months preparing.
Yeah.
So
and then once the gag gifts stopped, we just did envelopes, about maybe like 200 envelopes each, just filled with cash. Like they prepared for Christmas all year.
Yes, they did for sure. And
that's the biggest memory that just comes to mind. Christmas was no joke. No joke at all.
Very serious.
We took holidays very serious.
They sound like kooky, wild, but really loving people.
Insane. Yes. Oh, they were
great. Yeah.
There are just no words to put them. They were just so awesome.
Yeah. They were like a second set of grandparents to me growing up.
Yeah.
Because my grandparents were in Roundup, and Jamie's grandparents were here. And so when my mom and Dave were at work, if it was a day off from school, we would go over to Jan and Betty's house. And I just remember the Dollar movie theater too. Betty would always take me to the movies, the Dollar Theater, and we would get just a big tub of buttered popcorn and watch a movie. And she would do that with me all summer, me and Jamie, when Jamie was spending time with her dad and my mom, we would do that. We would, just go to the movies, and it was fun. I mean, it was $1 movie, and we thought that was just the best thing ever.
Yeah.
At that
That
age.
would be the best thing ever now.
It would be.
Maybe movie date after this.
Yeah.
You certainly earned it. Well, because we need to tell the story, and I don't know if this is the hardest part. There's a lot of hard parts about this, but let's talk about what happened to Jamee. What happened that night? What happened? And maybe you can start a little earlier too, when things started to maybe go downhill. It sounds like there was kind of a descent and things were getting bad. And I mean, addiction is a disease, and it takes people over, and it takes them down roads that are hard to come back from. And this one led, well, we don't know where it led, but we haven't seen her. And so let's talk about that. What happened to Jamee?
Yeah.
Do you maybe want to start with like the kind of where it all went downhill?
Yeah. So I was living in Alaska at the time. I graduated college, and I had moved up to Alaska. And Jamee and I talked, not super frequently, while I was gone, because time difference, land of the midnight sun, you try to sleep when you can, because it's daylight all the time during the summer. And the last time that I remember hearing from Jamee was January of 2012. So the year that she went missing, and she had asked me for some money. And I don't remember how much or anything like that, but I remember telling her that, unfortunately I couldn't help her because Alaska is a very expensive place to live. And I was
fair.
Yeah, I was single. So, I was just kind of fighting to stay afloat by myself up there. And then I don't really remember hearing from her after that. And I remember my mom getting a hold of me and letting me know Jamee's missing. And knowing that she liked to go out and have fun. She liked to party. She and I used to go to the Wild West before, and we would dance and hang out. And so I just kind of thought, hey, maybe she just met a guy. Maybe she's just out having some fun. But I knew that leaving the girls was weird. I knew that was off for her. And then, days turned to weeks. And then that's when things started to kind of amp up as far as the missing persons flyer that was printed. People on Facebook was still super early back then. Because it was 2012, and I think Facebook was invented in, I don't know, like 2007 or something like that. Yeah. And so I just remember seeing some things on Facebook, I think it's the Montana Missing Persons Network or something like that, shared her folder, her picture. And I know that, I know her mom was looking for her, and I just remember hearing that she went missing at a party on St. Patrick's Day. When people had woken up, she was gone. And
just very minimal. Like the least information that we could have found out was given to us. Like we had nothing. Zero information. Like no one knew anything. With how many people were at that party, no one saw anything, heard anything. Nothing seemed to offer suspicious about that night. She just disappeared in thin air.
They all said, from what I've gathered, is that they all went to sleep there at this party, and then when they woke up, both Jamee and her boyfriend were gone.
Yeah.
And that's so, I don't know how many people we're talking about were at this party, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Rough guesstimate, but they maybe a rager probably.
I would say there was probably Jamee, her boyfriend, I know the homeowner and her husband at the time were there. And I think there was probably maybe a handful of other people there. But again, being in Alaska, being her stepsister, I got even less information, I think, than probably what her mom, Leslie, had gotten from BPD. But to my knowledge, it was kind of something that was followed up on. Her boyfriend reported her missing. She didn't show up to work. She didn't show up for a visitation with Cameron. Allegedly, her boyfriend dropped her off at a convenience store for a visitation with Cameron, and that was the last time he saw her. But when what I've read on the news articles and stuff is that BPD looked at the video surveillance of that gas station, and there was no Jamie ever dropped off. There was no blue car that he had said she got into. And there was no him on camera. He was actually never caught on the gas station camera. So he didn't really speak to the cops, to my knowledge, after that. I do know that Jamie's identification was used not long after she went missing.
Yeah, by it was a gal.
Yeah.
I forget her name, but some
man.
girl had tried to use her credit card somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Just maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Two-ish weeks after she had gone missing.
Yeah.
And after that, crickets, like
Nothing.
instantly.
Yeah.
For the next 14 years, nothing at all.
Yep. This is the first year that I would say that the case has gotten any attention.
Some attention. We're going to make sure it gets some very serious attention. That is one of the outcomes that's going to occur. So, I mean, I've read all the articles now as well, and I mean, there's a timeline, and it's so alarming and so disturbing, which is that she was living in a hotel with her boyfriend, and they, I think, were evicted from that hotel. They were supposed to move into a place. They got a trailer or something like that they were going to move into. They were going to do that. They wind up at this party. There was supposed to be a visitation with her daughter the next day. Was that you or a visitation with?
No, yeah, that would be my sister Cameron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that was canceled beforehand, is my understanding of the timeline that's outlined in the Billings Gazette. This stuff is not difficult to find. You know, that these reports are, and because the Billings Gazette followed up on this stuff, or maybe Channel 8, we'll make sure that the article is connected here. But okay, so they disappear from the party, and then I believe she didn't show up for work, and then that's when her boyfriend called mom and said she didn't show up for work. Maybe somebody should go looking for her, et cetera, et cetera. And then I think he was interviewed by somebody and said that they left the party early before everybody woke up, and he dropped her off at this visitation, and that is the last that anybody has heard or seen from her. And also, when they pulled up the footage from that gas station, there is no trace of that taking place. So you reported a blue car. You said he dropped her off. None of those things are on the video footage. I mean, I haven't seen the footage, so I don't know like how panoramic the camera was, but no footage of that actually taking place. And then they pulled him back in. Apparently, he lawyered up immediately, and then it just seemed like they stopped investigating. Or stopped looking, or stopped, like, there's just nothing else after that. Although you're telling me that I had not heard about the credit card that was used. I mean, like, how is that not followed up on? Like, where did she get that credit card? I mean, these are answers that should be available. Like, the reason that some of these answers aren't available, like, that's one of the problems. Like, that's one of the problems that we're highlighting. So how does he account for the fact that he said he dropped her off and there's no video footage of that actually taking place? Like, that's an answer that should exist. And it doesn't seem to. And so then 4 or 5 months roll by, and he is sentenced for possession of firearms, I think, and I'd have to look at the exact charges, but then is incarcerated for several years. And that is just the end of it. I cannot find any evidence, any reporting that anybody did anything else beyond that. And those are just like, that is it. Like, I mean, Alani, like, this is where you get to jump in here, but like, there should be available information, right?
I mean, it depends on the case. Like, obviously, normally with investigations and operations, you're not allowed to comment or release anything that's ongoing, right? But based on what I'm hearing, it sounds like a piss poor job. And even now, I know this was some time ago, right? But if this case were to come to light today, and even back in 2012, there are things that Billings could have done to corroborate or, investigate a little bit further. So do you know what kind of car he had at the time? Was it a newer car or like a really old car?
I don't know anything particular about the vehicle that he was driving or anything like that. I do know that he was on and this is all again public record.
Sure.
I know he was on felony supervision at the time for drugs and that he absconded supervision, and that's what landed him with the federal charge of felon in possession of a firearm. He had a warrant for absconding from the state. He was picked up on it by the marshals, and then he was charged federally with that. And then, that's when it ended. But I have not seen anything in any kind of news articles or anything about his vehicle or even, I guess, what he was doing for work at the time, any of that.
Sure. Yeah. So if somebody listening is experiencing what your family is experiencing, here's some of the things I would say, which is cars nowadays have computers in them, and computers can be exploited the same way your cell phone can or any other digital media device. There was a case that I used to train on where guy had killed someone, and they literally there's a kit, it's called the Burla kit, that a lot of law enforcement agencies have, and it shows like odometer readings, speeds on highways, routes. It shows literally like what doors are open and closed with a timestamp and a date stamp. And so that's something that, as an example, I'd say, well, let's run his car through the system. And in the one that I trained on, you had a suspect who two people got in the car because the front two passenger doors opened and closed at about the same time. And then they get to a location, both doors open. And then like some time passes, it was about an hour and a half. And then only the driver's door opens and closes, and then the car takes off. Right. And they were able to find the body at that location that was GPS marked via the vehicle computer system. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, right. But these are things that honestly a lot of law enforcement officers don't know about. And 2012, I'm sure the kits existed, but they weren't prevalent for sure. But the point is, like, if you had law enforcement officers that understood the availability of the types of tools and resources, right, it certainly sounds like lazy policing. And unfortunately, there are not great law enforcement officers out there, right? I mean, even just the little bit of time I've spent with Ashley, you can tell Ashley is the creme de la creme of POs. Because of she's turned pain into purpose, her education, all the service that she provides, she would go above and beyond for anybody, right? And unfortunately, we in the justice system as a whole know that there are unfortunately a lot of folks that don't have the same level of care and attention that Ashley puts to the cases that she works. So, something else I tell people is, unfortunately, this family trusted that police were going to do the right thing, and we should trust that. However, we know the truth. And so I'll tell people a lot of times, I'm like, hey, when you go report this, if you're not getting a warm fuzzy from that person, go find someone else and talk to them. Like, go back over and over and over again until you find someone who will listen and respect you. And I get that law enforcement's overwhelmed, but even me, like, I would tell people in my cases all the time, I'm like, hey, I'm working it, but if you get antsy and you want an update, it's not that I'm blowing you off. I have a million cases going on right now. Just call me and I will give you an update on what's happening, right? And if anything relevant comes up, and that goes back to just customer service. I hate to call it customer service, but that's the human touch, right? The human element of like, hey, we have a lot going on. Every PD is under-resourced and undermanned. But at the end of the day, they still have a responsibility to make the community feel safe. And they should have given you better updates. They should have followed up more. Obviously, at the time, I don't know, I'm sure they probably had some rudimentary cell phones at the time, right? We can exploit those a lot more now. But yeah, there's a lot more that could be done. And I wish I could say that this situation was unique, but it's not. And it's really heartbreaking. In a lot of the different jurisdictions I work in, when it comes to missing persons units, I mean, there have been so many times where they're like, meh, like, they're gone, they're not coming back, like, there's kind of no point. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is literally your job. Like, I don't care how futile it feels. I don't care if that person's run away a dozen, 100 times. Your job is to go find them, and you will go do that, right? So I'm just really heartbroken to hear that that was your experience. And I mean, I know what I've read in the paper, but it's shocking to hear you guys say like, no, we got the same information that's out in the paper, and that's it.
Yeah, that you don't know more than I know. Like that's also alarming, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
so crazy. So crazy. So my question is, in terms of like your interactions with the PD, I mean, did they say they would re-engage with you? Did they have any follow-ups? Like what? So they went and looked at this gas station footage and they were like, oh, and then there was nothing?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, that's exactly how it played out is I kind of feel that maybe Jamie's case got swept under the rug because like Frankie's a scary dude. He's a well-known scary dude. And also I kind of feel it's a similar situation to a lot of the missing murdered Indigenous women where you know, oh, they have they're just a junkie. They, you know, they're just, it doesn't matter. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Like more trouble than it's worth. We got other stuff. And like, I mean, I think that is where we're at right now. And, you know, having just come from a vigil for a woman who was very preventably murdered. I mean, that is just unquestionably what happened. Like this guy said he was going to kill her. He gets out on probation for domestic violence against her. And then he just did what he said he was going to do. And like, it was so overt that even in this program that they're just developing and trying, you know, to see if it'll, like, they identified this as one of the guys that they need to be going after. And then hearing Leah's story, like, I just think that we're, like, everything we're describing right now is just, it's fucking insufficient. Like, it is inadequate. And I realize that there are, you know, like it is all complex. But, I mean, especially in Shawna's case, we you know, the judicial system failed, the medical system failed, the counseling system failed. Like it is a domino, you know, effect through these systems, and we all just have to do better. And so I don't have any personal interest in, you know, combing through history to throw people under the bus. What we need to do right now is band together and be a voice for Shawna and be a voice for Jamie and be a voice for the future victims, that if they don't have a voice, then this is just going to keep happening. And I think that's part of what this conversation is about, is that right now we're demanding some of the answers that, you know, we can go back through and try and figure out why these answers weren't provided. It's 2012, so, you know, it's probably going to be hard to get some of those answers. But there are things that can be done now. And my understanding is that there's new evidence, there's new witnesses that are potentially emerging. Like the case itself is getting a lot of attention, and some people want to open this stuff back up. And you know, I mean, I just celebrate that. Like, Jamie deserves justice, and so does Shawna, and so do all of these other women. And this is a start. And I would just say that to our listenership. Like there are so many women who have gone missing, and nobody went looking for them. But right now we're talking about Jamie. And let's figure out what happened to this woman, and let's get some answers for Talee.
Yeah, and I want to also speak to the realities of what you're talking about, right? Because even, I think you said it before we hit record, but Ashley's like, I went to get answers, but I didn't want anybody to perceive that I was doing it from an official capacity. I was very proper, right? Because Ashley is a professional at what she does. But systemically, there are people who abuse power all the time, right? And so that's a really big difference between kind of like, we'll say the elite and everybody else. Is when you talk about a Montanan, very humble individual, they're going to trust the people in authority that are supposed to be helping, right? And I think, unfortunately, you're opening up this wound that needs to heal. It's like a broken bone that never healed appropriately, right? And so the system as a whole, like, there are amazing law enforcement officers everywhere. There are amazing prosecutors everywhere. Unfortunately, as a whole, the system itself is lazy. There's a lack of leadership. Leadership is another really tough thing, where the humble people see the burden of leadership because it's great. And they're like, I'm not qualified. I'm not quite good enough. I need a little bit more time. So they're downplaying their skills. Meanwhile, the arrogant are saying, yeah, I'll go be the police chief, right? And so attitude reflects leadership in these units. And when I hear stories like this, I know that that rot comes from the top, right? Not to mention the fact that there's actual corruption in law enforcement agencies, which is really unfortunate. And we talk about danger and life and death situations, and this is real stuff. I mean, my husband and I have had to have conversations in other jurisdictions where we're like, okay, I'm working a trafficking case and I know the cops are involved and like they're making threats and we don't have, appropriate security around the house. And like, you can come kill me, but you mess with my family, that's a whole other thing, right? So it's scary. And to the point of, Frankie's a scary dude, right? You could have had well-intended cops who don't have the courage to go up against a Frankie, right? Which is a bit of a moral and ethical failure, unfortunately. But so it's layered, it's complicated. There's a lot of things and a lot of ways this could have rolled out. But at the end of the day, I think one of the questions we're asking through this is what kind of a community do we want to be? And what kind of accountability do we want to hold our justice system to? Because they serve us, not the other way around, right? And I think it's important to kind of underscore this point of this family deserved so much better, and it's never too late to get justice, right? And so these questions, this new evidence is coming out. Now's the opportunity. And listen, nobody does community better than Montana. So I know there are some true crime junkies listening to this right now who are going to do a better job than, whoever it was that was working on these cases in 2012. And the point of injustice, what I've seen a lot of times is you get one tiny little tip and it cracks things just wide open. And another thing I tell folks is I believe in your spidey sense. Your intuition is one of the most powerful tools at our disposal. And so I tell people as a law enforcement officer, I'm like, I don't care if you don't have evidence. If your spidey sense is going off, I would rather you call me and tell me about it. I can investigate and find nothing than you say nothing, because we rely on the community to provide some of the solutions, right? Or the tips and the leads and stuff. So now is the time, folks, to get justice. It is a really interesting time in Montana between what happened in Billings, this insane story. We've gone all over the state, and there are many counties where we hear similar stories of, prosecutors are not protecting children and vulnerable women. Domestic violence rates are out of control. Law enforcement isn't doing anything about it. Law enforcement's part of the problem. And I think in terms of federal legislation, that's passionate to me because that's been my life's work too, right? And to be able to do something that from a legislative perspective, whether it's creating better laws for domestic violence support and resource allocation. We've talked to several Billings police officers. They're good people, but even they say, we don't have the funding. Like the good guys are overworked because good guys will overwork themselves, right? But the idea of providing additional resources to these law enforcement agencies, rewarding the good behavior and holding accountable the units that aren't doing the work is exactly what legislators should be doing, and we should be demanding more. So I'm excited with all the emotions, right, of what's going to come out of this, because I don't think it's an accident that we're having this conversation right now. And thank you for your candor, because it's one thing to read it in the news, but to hear from the actual family say, nope, I have the same information that you got out of the news is just really mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, it's been very hard to know that we only know what everybody else knows. We don't have anything extra. I think that Montana, we're so far behind the system. I know this is a worldwide problem. It's a worldwide epidemic. But I know that in 2012, how many homicides were going on? Probably not very many, right? And people were kind of like, this is new. Like we haven't prepared for this. And so I think that's part of the systemic problem is the funding, where, Montana is in this mindset of like, oh, that doesn't happen here. And I read an article or something recently that people in Montana are more willing to report animal abuse than domestic violence. And that's concerning, because I love animals for sure. Don't get me wrong. Like, I want to protect animals as well. But if you hear something, you need to say something. If you hear screaming at your neighbor's house, call BPD or whatever place, whatever town you're in, call them. And, it's called a welfare check. It's not called a, I'm being a narc check. It's a welfare check. And I think that those are important. And I think that I know from talking with Jamie that Frankie was very controlling, very abusive. And I know that she has friends from back then. I know that those friends are older. I know that they're wiser. I know that they have children of their own now. I don't think that they would want their kids to be in a position that Talee's in right now of, you know, where's my mom? Or even where's my dad? Like, domestic violence, it goes towards men too. Is it more prevalent with women? Absolutely. But men are victims as well in certain situations. And I think that the community needs to remember that we're a community. We need to look out for each other. We need to try and take care of each other as much as possible. And we've just been stuck in this mindset of, I'm going to put my blinders on and pay attention to my own house. No, because what happens at your neighbor's house is going to affect other people.
Yeah. So I looked it up. The Department of Justice said there were 20 homicides reported by non-tribal law enforcement in Montana that year. And yeah.
Well, I want to take that one on a little bit too, because I did an episode with, and she's just a hero of mine, a mentor of mine, somebody I look up to, Penny Ronning, who has worked tirelessly. Her mom was a victim of sexual abuse. By a family member, and she tells that story, and that is really her onus, her, that's what inspired her just lifelong dedication to getting justice for survivors of especially human trafficking. And what Penny has done is given us the language to talk about these things that actually have been prevalent for a very long time, and they may be increasing in prevalence. That's a part of this, I think. But the reality is a lot of this stuff just didn't used to have a name, and by naming it, by saying what this is, by addressing it, by calling attention to it, we can just get better, more efficient, more capable of taking these issues on. And so that's part of this too. That's why these conversations are so important, because we need the language, we need the story, we need the landscape to be able to know what it is that we're fighting against. And that's why Penny is just an absolute hero, because she's helped do that legislatively, she's helped do that in our community, and so this is all part of that, right? We need the voice so that we can know what it is that we're up against when we demand justice. And that's a work in progress, and that applies in 2012. It applies right now. And I mean, that's what we're doing right now. This is part of that.
Yes. And I want to go back to what Ashley said in conjunction with that, which is it takes everybody being part of the solution. And the bigger question we're asking is, what kind of a community do we want to be in Billings and as a state? And it's interesting because when we saw each other in Billings, I don't know, a month or two ago, whenever it was, we were having a conversation. There was a PD officer there, and we were talking with members of the community about what criminal statistics look like in Billings. And this one individual there was like, well, I don't really know how I can be part of the solution, right? And what does that look like? And he actually later on mentioned that he was in his neighborhood, he was driving home and saw this car that didn't belong there. And he and a buddy ended up kind of confronting that individual. And then it turned out that individual with that vehicle had burglarized, I think, a house a couple blocks away, that night or something. I'm probably butchering this story. But the point was, this police officer was like, that is exactly what you need to be doing. Yep. That is exactly part of the solution. And Matt's talking about the amazing Penny Ronning. And there's so many people at the community level that tell me, well, I don't have the resources to be a Penny and start a massive anti-trafficking movement. And I'm like, you don't have to, right? Wow. You just have to do your little part. If it's your spidey sense going off, if you hear about a horrific missing persons case or something, and you want to make a casserole and drop it off at the family. I mean, that is just as important as any law enforcement work, any any of the official government stuff. The point is, what kind of community do you want? And I think a lot of why we are where we are, and this is part of why I'm running, is because we have lost holding each other accountable to our behaviors. And so it's uncomfortable, I think, for a lot of folks to get back in that mode, to Ashley's point of, when you see something, you say something. Or, you want to talk about Epstein's the elephant in the room right now, right?
Yeah.
People are like, Epstein's so massive, how do we address it? I'm like, when someone says something inappropriate, you call them out. That's addressing Epstein directly, all the way up to prosecuting them, putting them in jail, whatever it might be. So like, I love this wisdom that's coming from these women that says, this is what I would have done for your family, and I wish someone would do it for our family now. Right.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I think, like the old saying of, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's exactly what we're dealing with. And Montana used to be such a down home, friendly state. You drive by somebody on the road, on the highway, and you lift your hand and you wave at them. And now there's just road rage. There's been shootings that have involved road rage. There's people getting run off the road. There's human trafficking. There's gangs. There's drugs. There's so much violence. And we can only combat that if we get to know our neighbors, if we get to know the person down the street, take care of each other, one person at a time. And then things slowly start to get better. You start to see a shift.
Well, that even starts with just like helping somebody out. Like if you see someone struggling, if you see a person broken down on the side of the road, and like, I don't know, it just comes with like, you can inconvenience yourself to help another person. And that's something that a lot of people have lost or just grown out of.
Yeah.
Of just, I don't need to do this. And if I don't do this, I'll have
5 extra minutes.
Yeah. I'll have the same day. Well, they could be, having the worst day of their life, going through so many things. And you could be like that one person. It's just, nobody's going out of their way anymore. Or they just, if they don't find convenience for themselves in it, they won't go out of their way to do anything. And that's just heartbreaking, because when you're people who have that mindset and grew up in that type of family where you do have that mindset, even if it's hard, you do it. And if it's inconveniencing you but helping another person, you do it.
Yep.
So just to kind of echo that sentiment, that there's this elephant right out there, and we can beat this thing one bite at a time, and all of us can take a bite. It's right in front of you, and we do it with kindness, and we do it with speaking up, and we do it with taking a stand and getting to know our neighbors, and taking some personal responsibility and saying, this is my problem. Because I got a daughter, man, I got a wife. Like, this is my problem. I refuse to live in a city where women go missing and nobody goes looking. And so just in that sentiment, I wanted to ask both of you guys, what would you say to Jamee's friends, the people that might be out there who have some information that, I promise you, there's information out there and somebody's sitting on it, and it's probably real heavy on their heart. And so speak directly to them. Like, what would you ask of those people out there who were present?
As much as I would want to stand with them in the fact that they did lose a friend, I think going for maybe the people who were there that night, or maybe some people who know something, if I were to talk to those people, I definitely would want them to know that I wouldn't maybe give them the sympathy that they wanted. If they know something and they haven't come forward all this time, even if they wanted to, or even if there is any excuse in the book, you can have that empathy for them of just knowing that information and just it eating at them. You can have that in the back of your mind, but at the end of the day, you had an entire family just thinking. You knew something that could have been the crack that kind of broke everything open. So you kind of lose that from me once we're getting on year 14 and you haven't said anything yet. A whole life has gone by.
Yeah, and that person is out there as well.
Yeah, and you like, it's frustrating. Like we've been talking about this whole time. We know what everyone else knows. We don't have any inside information. We don't have anything to go off of, and it kind of makes you like envious of we should know more than this, more than the general public. And if someone out there knows something that we don't,
Please
I
come
don't know.
forward.
Yeah, please
come
come
forward.
forward. Like there's no more anger. It's literally just like
Yeah.
begging for some answers.
Yeah.
So we can't all live our life just not knowing. Like, it's
Yeah.
just hard. It gets harder every year, not easier.
Yeah.
So,
Ashley, what
I
would you
think
say?
I think Talee said it very well. You know, there's if you're scared of Frankie, that can be handled. If you're
Yeah.
scared of BPD or Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office, that can be handled. If you know something and you have kept quiet all these years, I don't necessarily blame you. I get it. I get being scared for your life. If you know somebody did something horrible, you know, and I'm not saying anybody did because we don't know the facts, but like if you know something and you're scared for yourself or your family, maybe somebody at that party had two little girls just like Jamie did. And that's where the fear of came from of staying quiet. Like I understand that, but it's time for the truth to come out. And, you know, I've had I've had some of Jamie's friends recently talk to me and give me these little breadcrumbs.
Yeah, there's
as
more
I
to this
call.
story. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And I thank them so much for coming forward. And Billings is a small town. It's a big city, but it's a very small town. And
yeah.
if somebody did something nefarious to Jamie, somebody else knows something other than the perpetrator, and you don't need to hold back. Like we're not going to come after you. You know, like Talee said, there's no personal anger there anymore, but it is time for whoever did do something to be held accountable. Think of if it was your little girl that, you know, wanted answers after you went missing, or you know, if it was your mom, if it was your sister, you know, there's so many situations of put yourself in our shoes, not these other people, but put yourselves in our shoes, and view it from that lens, because if you know something, it is absolutely 14 years is too long, you know?
Yeah. And reaching out is just, I just wish I was on the other end where I would be scared to reach out to us. Like, I just can't imagine that. Like, if you're scared to reach out and you have this missing puzzle piece or even more breadcrumbs to give us, like, reach out to any of us, to me,
any of us. Yeah.
Anybody. I mean, we appreciate everything. Every slightest bit of information is more than we had the day before, and that's all that we need is just more information, more people talking about it, more people actually willing to put in the effort to find out what happened and to just get answers. That's all. It doesn't have to be this big complicated thing, and it will be hard if the case does get reopened and they want to push for answers. It'll be hard because it's been 14 years. It'll obviously just be it'll be a big long road to go through, but that's a step in the right direction, and that's kind of all we're asking for is just, even if it's the slowest steps we can get, it's
something forward.
just
Talee.
moving forward. That's all we need.
Yeah, well, and you know, so you're saying it's never too late to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Right? But I want to highlight something else that you said that I think is so powerful, which is that community focus again, right? Because unfortunately, Montana and America have become too rugged individualist, right? Where we're only calculating how it's going to impact us. But the point is, one of the most powerful tools in justice seeking is community, right? So if I have a bit of information and I'm scared of being hurt or my name being public or whatever, right? As Ashley just said, it's like, hey, if you're scared of Frankie, let us know. We can handle that, right? But it is vulnerable.
I know some people that can handle that.
Right,
and,
right.
And this is a
right.
community right here. Like we got your back.
Yes.
And that is, and truly, Talee too. Like we're gonna build something together and wrap around you and make sure our community wraps around you and this story. And I want you to hear that part of this is not having to carry this alone. And
right.
I just want to go back to what everyone's saying kind of, if you're scared of Frankie and scared of coming out because of him and because of the connections that someone might have to him, whatever the case may be, we've been scared of Frankie. We've all been scared of Frankie. We've all been in that situation, and it might not be the same as maybe what someone is going through and to the heights of how scared they are, or what he can do to them personally. But it's just, we've all been there. It's just,
well,
we're here too.
I'm not saying, because I don't know what happened to Jamie, but like based on how all of this sounds to me, like, is anybody okay with having a murderer just loose on our streets? Like,
and
that is what that is the price of that silence. And so whether it's him or somebody else, like that is now a part of our community, and that affects absolutely all of us. And that secrecy, it just creates an environment where now those are our streets. That's our city.
Mm-hmm. Right. And going back to that social contract between a community and the government, which if I'm hearing that community is scared of Frankie, that is law enforcement's job to go and address it so that the community feels safe again, right? And even if they don't have evidence to formally indict or do anything to keep him separated from the community, a simple get in your face conversation, and I've had plenty of those, right? Where I'm like, oh, bro, like you better start acting right, because if you don't, I will put you in jail. I will figure out a way to do that, because my job is to keep the majority of this community safe. It is not about your individual liberties at the end of the day. I mean, obviously we have a constitution, we're going to do it the legal way, right? But to hear that there are community members that are scared of an individual, to me, is a massive red flag that someone isn't doing their job. And coming back to that community bit of, if someone has that evidence, you can submit it anonymously, right? Like, you don't even have to have your name involved. If you do want to come forward and give the full information, having a buddy that you trust that is with you at the time, like, that's where we have to get vulnerable and admit that we need help as individuals, right? And that happens all the time. I've had people call me and they're like, I need to go confront law enforcement about whatever they're not doing correctly. Would you mind coming with me? I'm like, oh, honey, all day. Let's go. And it's fun to sit there and be like, this is my background, and I'm going to hold you accountable because I know your policies and I know the law, and I'm going to hold you to not even like necessarily maximizing, but what the law says you should be doing. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire, right? And there are some advocates like that. We need more, but these conversations are just as powerful in saying, if you know something, you can still do something about it, because that type of secrecy weighs so heavily on the soul. It is a massive burden. And actually, that's another thing I want to point out, because I've done tons of interviews where people have unburdened their souls of things. You can see the individual lift. You can see, like, I don't think the human body was actually designed to hang on to that stuff. So for the listener, I know if you have that information, you're feeling the burden 12 years later, you can take that off of yourself whenever you choose to do that. And there will be a community here that will wrap their arms around you and will support you and protect you. You just have to take one tiny step towards the truth.
Yeah. We'll thank you for that. We will, we'll 100% thank you for coming forward and having that courage. I know that Matt mentioned courage earlier, of like me and Talee being willing to talk, and of Leah being willing to talk on the earlier podcast. And it's hard. I know Talee has anxiety. I have anxiety about it. What ripple effect is this going to have? It's going to have a ripple effect that can be good, and it could also be bad. But we want that shift in the mindset of our community. It's important. And if you have something, you want to do it anonymously, do it anonymously. You want somebody to go with you, call Alani.
Or call us.
Call us, call Matt.
Call me, man. We'll act on this.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that people don't understand that they don't have the options to actually go out and talk to these people and know what they can do and how many just paths that they can go down. People don't have that support. Like, no one has the support that they really need anymore, because it just
community
all
is
ties
broken
into the
down.
community value. Yeah. No one has that value anymore where they pride themselves in helping other people, or they pride themselves in
Doing what's right.
being supportive, or just being a village. We just need to we always say that we need to be a village, but no one wants to be a villager. Things get tough, and you gotta kind of, when someone else is suffering, if you want to be a village, you got to suffer with them, and you just got to go through that, and just the trials and the tribulations that you have to get through, and then look back on, and just, you have to get past yourself. That's the biggest thing that you have to get through is yourself, because that's the only thing that's going to hold you back, is just what you put on yourself.
Talee, you might be one of the wisest 20-year-olds I've ever heard. Like,
I know.
What?
I try, let me look at that.
No, I mean, but
you're beating me to the punch, Alani, because that was where I wanted to see this go. I want to, and that was my little kind of clip here too, was that I mean, Ashley, you were telling me about Talee, and in preparation for this conversation, which we've been preparing for this for a couple months now, and this series, and talking about some of these women's issues, and you put me in touch with Talee because of course you're a little bit nervous about having this conversation, and then like I called you, I can't remember, and then on the other end of the line is this incredibly well-spoken, incredibly courageous, and I'm just like, I was like, who is this person? You blew me away, Talee, and it is an honor and a privilege to share this conversation with you. And so, Alani, I want you to pick that thread back up in a second, but Ashley, I know that you are so incredibly proud of Talee, and I want to hear about that.
I am. I can't even. No, don't look at me. Don't look at me. So I carried a lot, going back to the feelings, the emotions that come with this case, or being involved in this case. I had a lot of emotions. I felt terrible when Jamee went missing and I was in Alaska. I felt, like, oh, I should go back, but I wasn't ready. I had my own demons here in Montana that I was not ready to face. I was young. Jamee was young. I was young too. And I was just out there trying to live my life, trying to, make a career for myself, trying to get through my trauma, the issues with my mom. My mom had, in November of 2012, so not long after Jamee went missing, my mom passed away of an overdose, and it's just, and then the next year, 8 months after that, my grandma passed away, and my grandparents raised me like Talee's grandparents, great grandparents kind of raised her. It was a very close relationship, and I could not come back to Montana. When I came back to Montana in 2017, I started rebuilding that relationship with Jan and Betty, and Talee. Talee was a little, she remembered me, which was,
I was also a very just shy kid. I didn't put myself out there. I wasn't talkative. I didn't really socialize. So it's like I looked up to you, and every time you came over, like, my grandparents would get an earful, but anyone that I would be surrounded with besides my grandparents, it was awkward, like they were just my safe place, and I just didn't want anything else but them. But I would get so excited just even when you were gone. And I even was telling her this, she feels so guilty, and she still feels guilty to this day. And I just can't even imagine, because like, I just have looked up to her in so many ways, and she's such an active part of my life right now, where I'm always getting mad at you for feeling guilty, just because you're young, and I truly believe that you do need that time to yourself when you're young and figuring things out, and just, you need to know what your purpose is, and you can kind of figure it out when you're just by yourself doing your own thing, figuring out what you like and don't like. And that's what you were doing. And I was so young, I don't even remember. That doesn't matter.
So when I moved back, I started rebuilding that relationship. And then I would say within the last year or so, is when I approached Talee and I said, hey, what do you think about us trying to get this solved? What do you think about us trying to get these answers, because nobody has anything. It's a ghost case. Like we've said repeatedly, we have the same information that you guys have from the news. That's it. And I told her, if she wanted answers, I would do whatever I could to make that happen. And like I said, I've been very careful not to use my professional capacity to do that. And ironically, like Matt said, it was my tattoo artist who ended up connecting Matt and I. And then Matt connected me with Alani. And, I've talked with Leah as well from the earlier podcast. And so I really just feel like the time is now. I feel awful for the other losses that we've recently had in our community, Shawna, and so many people before that. And that's what needs to stop. People following women on the freeways, that needs to stop. People yelling and screaming and throwing things, breaking things when you're in an argument with somebody, that needs to stop. Grow the fuck up and handle it like a human, okay? Like, you were given a frontal lobe. It has probably developed if you're over the age of 23. And just stop being violent, stop being negative, stop hiding behind this bravado and behind your ego. Step up, be a man, be a woman, whatever the case is. And that's what I wanted to do for Talee. Is I knew that, I know that Jamie's mom is tired. I know that she's been through a lot, and I am willing to step up and take this and try to find these answers. And I don't want to do it to step on anybody's toes as far as anybody, like Jamie's mom or Dave or her brothers. I know that they know who I am. They've been around me. They remember me. And I'm kind of just trying to carry this forward. And I'm so happy with Talee being willing to take this journey with me and to be a part of it, and how much she's grown and how much knowledge she has. I interviewed her for a paper for grad school recently, and her answers were absolutely mind-boggling. I don't think that my professor, Dr. Marty, is going to believe that these answers came from a 20-year-old. I swear to goodness, I did make it up. The answers are from her, and you guys can hear that now in the podcast. She's amazing. Like, I could not be more proud of her, and I missed out on a lot of time with her, but I want to make that better now.
I was awkward then. I'm good now. Yeah, I'm good. This is the part that you need to know.
I'm still awkward, so there's
we all still have it. Yeah,
we all have our thing. So I just wanted to point out, because I know Ashley, you didn't hear it, but everybody heard it. The humility and the grace that you bring to this, right? This I don't want to step on anybody's toes. And that's not what this is about, right? This is about picking up where other folks left off. And, honestly, so often I do encounter amazing humans who were just like, well, I just want to, I was kind of taught to do the right thing and trust that things were going to work out. No, I will step on toes. For you, right? Because Matt will step on toes for you, because coming back to community, sometimes that's what we need. And I need that too, right? I need that too. And I heard a little bit, and I just want to maybe preface after the call, when you guys get off and you feel the vulnerability hangover over everything that you just shared, right? I looked up some stats real quick, and it's in Montana, between the Board of Crime Control and there's a World Population Review page, it's in Montana, 56.7% of women and 42.2% of men report experiencing domestic violence. And it's in the upper range of U.S. states for domestic violence prevalence. So, and I specialize in sex crimes. It's 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 to 10 boys are survivors of that crime. You are sharing the story of literally over 500,000 Montanans.
Yeah, that's insane.
Right? So I just want to point out that this is so many other people's stories, but there's so much shame rooted in it that folks don't want to come out. And, we all understand the trauma-informed language, right? So for the listener, trauma-informed is when you give control back to, the individual. And so law enforcement, justice, whoever, isn't forcing them to share their story. But I got to say, deep down, I'm always if survivors came forward, they would understand how powerful they are and how terrified the perpetrators are of these stories coming out. And that's why Epstein, nationally, that's why they're so scared. They won't look at these survivors in the face when they're testifying in Congress. It's the same reason why folks don't work the cases, because they're terrified of the power that survivors and their families have in holding these perpetrators accountable. All we have to do is help families feel supported and loved and believed in what is happening. This is how the community changes. So I know, and I'm sure Matt knows, would agree that the impact you're going to have is far reaching, and heaven help any motherfucker that tries to come for you guys. I mean, I'm just
saying. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, and I mean, even just going back to that, like in an Epstein world, in today's society, no girl is like, okay. And even just being younger and kind of knowing what girls talk about these days, the main thing that girls are talking about these days is the male loneliness epidemic of just males not having a companion just because of how they act and the values that people have put on their sons, and then they've grown up and actually implemented these values in real life society. And we've seen like just girls obviously deal with the consequences of those things, but it's also on a man too. Like men go through these things, and I do believe if you have just a good heart and good intentions, that sets you apart from so many things and just makes you so much different than anyone else. And I just feel like it's just hard because it's just a full circle moment where everyone deserves so many things and no one's just happy anymore.
See, she's amazing. I told you. I tried to warn you guys that this is the words coming out of her mouth. I did not plant
the
them
clarity
there.
and courage.
I stumble sometimes just because I have so much in my head. I'm just trying to think. I'm like, I can't think.
So I have one final question for all three of you guys, because this conversation is a call to action and it's a call to justice. And what do you want to, so just take your time with that answer. What do you want that call to be? What do you want that justice to look like?
Well, I mean, what does justice look like today? Like, do we want, I think it goes with what we want. Like, obviously we want answers, but what do I want to see happen? And that would kind of be, I want to see someone actually
give a fuck,
be charged for this, be charged for what they did. If someone did do something to my mom, I want them to be charged for it. And I want them to deal with the consequences. And I want someone to care enough to actually come and give us those answers and tell us what they know. And I just, that scaredness and that unwillingness to come forward, and just because they don't have to, it's like, I wish I could just get that out of someone's brain of just, we're over here begging for answers and we need them. And it's just so hard not having them still to this day. And nothing has come from this. No one said anything. I mean, us and the family and everyone has their own little idea of what happened. And it's not enough because we don't have answers. Like my grandma, Leslie, my mom's mom, her heart has completely broken over this. She lost her mind when her daughter went missing. My Papa Dave, his daughter, he lost his mind as well when his daughter went missing. When you like lose that child and lose someone so close to you, like you lose your mind and then you don't see the aftermath of any of it, because I mean, people are just kind of looking on the outside, but you still feel it to this day of just like that hurt, and that it's still a touchy subject. I mean, because we have no answers, we have nothing to heal. We healed something without, filling it up first and like making it whole again. So it's just, people don't really know what to do. It's just a touchy subject. Even today, after 14 years, the family just still doesn't even talk about it. It's just too touchy and too sad and brings up too many memories. So I want to be able to talk about it to my family one day and be healed, and it'll hurt and it'll be crazy to find out what happened and, heal from that. But I know we can. And I know that everybody wants it. It's what we all need. It's what we all want. And it's just time. Yeah, it's gone on too long.
Ashley, what is your call to action and your call to justice?
I mean, coming from the law enforcement portion, and also coming from, the human portion of dealing with this for 14 years, like Alani said it, this is vulnerable. This is, especially for me being in my current capacity for work, and for my future endeavors, my being in school, being in grad school, people are going to know some things about me after today that they have not known. I have kept them very well covered up, because I don't want anybody to think that my personal life has impacted my professionalism in any negative capacity, in any negative way. Growing up with a house of addiction, and growing up in a house with, I would say, visiting my mom at Yellowstone County Detention Facility, visiting my mom at the Montana Women's Prison. I understand victims. I understand, to an extent, I understand the criminal element that brings people to do the things that they do, right? Because I saw it with my mom. I saw her poor decisions. I understand addiction's a disease. As a future therapist, I want to help people work through things. I want to help people not have to deal with what I've gone through, with what Talee's gone through, what Jamee went through. And I want systemically some changes. Why is it so common in the United States that it takes 3 PFMAs to have a felony? As a law enforcement officer, if somebody comes up and hits me in the face, they immediately get charged with assault on a peace officer. That's a felony.
But if you were to go and do that to your mom, it takes up to 3 times for you to get charged with anything serious.
If my husband slugged me in the face, he can do it 3 times, and that's okay.
There's the charm,
And so why are we as a United States accepting these kind of behaviors? Montana is one of the very few states that actually has a violent offender registry. The sex offender registry is national, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alani or Matt. But the violent offender registry, there's maybe 10 states that participate in it. So, you can get somebody coming in from another state who maybe has 2 prior felonies, but they get popped for one, a PFMA here. And it's still going to be a misdemeanor because they don't necessarily know about these others from another state. It needs to be a national system. If somebody is violent, the public deserves to know. If somebody is a sexual predator, the public deserves to know. We recently, my husband and I are going to do some remodeling, and he had a contractor that was recommended by a friend. And my very first thing, anytime anything comes up, is I'm like, check Conweb. Conweb is free. It's public access to anybody who wants it. I said, run his name on Conweb. And it was a tier 3 sex offender. Somebody who's been perpetrating since the age of 12. And I said, he is not coming. We don't have children, but he is not coming into our house. And so
you're talking about use resources to protect your families, to protect.
Exactly. Yeah. Use the free resources. The Montana SVOR, the Sexual Violent Offender Registry, type in somebody's name there. You would be surprised. Conweb, same thing. You can type in somebody's name, and it'll give you what offenses they've been charged with in the state of Montana, when it was. They'll show you their face shot. It'll identify tattoos that they have, things like that. Just don't blunder around in this world blindly. And Alani, if you get elected, make some changes. I know you're going to, but I 100% think that things need to change from the top down.
Well, and just to add to that too, 988, the crisis hotline, national crisis hotline, and then 211 is a great number to call for, counseling, food services. It's just what we have available, and those are great resources. Alani, I'm curious if if somebody has evidence in this case in particular and wanted to come forward, even if that was anonymously, what they would do with that. So you can answer that question, but then also to say, what is your call to action? What's your call to justice? And also from that lens of this is you. This is you are stepping up, Alani. Alani's a close friend of mine, somebody I just care very deeply about, and also just one of our courageous people who are stepping up in our time of need to advocate for this, for our country, for we've got some issues right now that we need to take on. And Alani, I'm proud to know you, proud to call you a friend, and that it's just the kind of representation that we need, people of true dignity who want to go fight and know how. And so, yeah, but also that, like, if somebody knows something, who would they call? And then what's your call to action?
Yeah, I mean, they got options. So I'm sure BPD has an anonymous tip line. The FBI has an anonymous tip line. You can message me. I'm happy to parlay. Or I'm sure anybody on this call, right? You could drop it off on their doorstep. Like, literally, there's 1,000,002 ways that you can provide that information anonymously. I get a lot of calls too of the what if, like hypothetically speaking. I tell folks, so if you want to take action and you're not sure, hit me up and say hypothetically speaking, which means legally I have no obligation to report it, right? But then I can best advise on, hey, if you want that information to get to the right place, here's what I would recommend. And so, honestly, a lot of my hypothetically speaking situations, I tell them, I'm like, I actually wouldn't report certain things to law enforcement. That's in like child exploitation cases, right? But in this particular case, it is about getting the information to the right folks who are going to action it. And thankfully, because of Matt and Ashley, we have contacts and we know who the good humans are in the Billings justice arena that are going to actually action that information. And unfortunately, like, that's where we are as a country and as a state, is it's who you know a lot of times. But the point of this conversation is we know each other and we know how to network that information to the right place. And we know how to hold those folks accountable to it at the end of the day. And that's exactly what this conversation is. It's accountability all around. So, I mean, I would say in terms of my call to action, I appreciate the kind words, Matt, about the race. It's funny because I'll be honest, like, I never wanted to run for office. This is not my thing. My husband and I both retired from law enforcement with a lot of trauma and a lot of baggage, and we wanted to mind our own businesses in the middle of nowhere, Montana, for the rest of our lives. But I was taught that when your community needs help, you offer what you can to help it. To Talee, her earlier point, right, of doing the right thing. It is a sacrifice, and doing the right thing is going to cost you every time, but doing the wrong thing is also going to cost you. So which price do you want to pay, right? And you don't have to run for US Senate. You can be a Matt who genuinely cares, and he's like, I have a platform. Let's host this conversation on my platform. And Matt is so humble, and I will say it over and over again until I'm blue in the face. But I can do my thing. Ashley can do her thing. Talee can do her thing. But something about a man stepping up and using his privilege to amplify the voices of people trying to create the change is so powerful. And I'm so, so thankful that you are willing to put this kind of work in. But at the end of the day, you don't have to run for Senate. You don't have to start a podcast. You just have to share the information that you have. You just have to call out bad behavior. You just have to, if your spidey sense is going off, call the police, have them do a welfare check, like Ashley was saying earlier. You decide what kind of community you want to live in. And I want to live in a safe community where the vulnerable are protected and uplifted at the end of the day. And that takes every single one of us. And, I think the beauty of it is, though, America and Montana have been in really hard seasons before, where we had to really reckon with who we were and ask ourselves who we wanted to be. And we came out better at the end of the day. And I think this is that season for Montana as well. And yeah, in terms of legislation and at the federal level doing things, it's funny because we haven't even talked about MMIW, right? The Missing Murdered Indigenous Women stuff, which is very similar to what's happening in this family. But I get calls where people are like, what can we do to hold them accountable? I'm like, FBI struggling, BIA struggling with investigations. There's a lot of corruption, right? And I'm like, I'm going to Congress, because if there's one thing I know about protecting the vulnerable, is that money moves mountains. And guess who holds the purse strings in federal government? It's Congress. So yeah, I'm going to be allocating the funding so we have better resourcing for our justice system. I'm also going to be holding leaders accountable and saying, oh, why did we give you money and you have zero cases, 0 adjudications, 0 accountability, guess what? You're losing your money. We had that happen in Hawaii. The trafficking task force on Oahu out there, they got over $1 million from the feds and they lost it because they had 0 cases on trafficking. And that's one thing that the feds historically have been very good at, right? Is holding folks accountable to that. And that's what we plan on doing. But it takes all of us. It takes the conversations. It takes the ask, right? I don't know everything about everything, but hearing this story, now I'm like, Ashley and Talee coming to DC, we're going to write policy and we're going to impact the whole nation because of this story, right? And just like Ashley and Talee, as you are, like Ashley's whole life of service was born from pain, right? And I think that's a lesson for Montana too. There's a lot of trauma here. We know that because it's the #1 state for alcohol abuse, right? Folks, go to therapy. That's changing the system too. And I will tell you, as my trauma, I was drinking too much. And I've said this before on other platforms. I had to deal with my own stuff to be at my best kind of level so that I could serve as powerfully as I could. And there's no shame in saying, hey, I struggled. Now, I know better and I'm going to do better. We all have that. So if you can't contribute actively to the fight, but you have active addiction or active something happening, please get help for that. That's just as powerful as a podcast, as running for Senate, as opening a cold case. Everybody has to play their part.
Yeah, I love that, Alani. And I mean, even for me and kind of my background here and why I'm hanging out with Alani and Russ Cleveland and my son has Down syndrome and had leukemia twice. And I sat in a hospital room while my son was dying. I was pretty sure he was. And, watched Donald Trump get elected and then watched RFK Jr. gut cancer research for kids. And I was, it just awoke in me a rage. And that is this conversation, all of the things that I'm involved, it's a byproduct of that. And all of us have this thing that wakes us up and says, man, enough is enough. And it's time to use my voice. And Talee, I'm going to give you the last word here, but the one thing that I want to say is I am so impressed. I'm so inspired by you. I'm so moved deeply by your courage right now to stand up here and fight for your mom and fight for other women and fight for what is right. And your voice is powerful. It is so powerful. And you got some friends now. And my objective is I like to help my friends, is to help strengthen that voice and to make sure there's a community that wraps around you to care for you as you take this courageous stand. And just I say that with gratitude and an immense respect, and also mourn with you for your loss.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, and I've even, now that I kind of do have that sad story to go back on and just kind of deal with, it just puts this fire in me just to help everyone else. Moms are so prevalent in our community right now. There are so many moms and elders and single people and vulnerable that just need help. And I mean, I'll just kind of throw it out there. People know my name, Talee Smith. If you even want to just whatever, find me on Facebook, find anything. There's just so many things that me and my village and my community and just the people that I surround myself with, there's so many things that can happen and so many people that I can help, where just reach out, know that there are people in this town and in this city and just everywhere that just can help and
that care
and aren't pitying you or doing it for an upper hand or a bigger power move. It's just, we want to help and we get it. And we've been there, done that. And it's hard, and it's just so much easier to just have someone to go through these hard times with. That's all you need, is just a person, a companion, someone to talk to. Even if it's not therapy, let it be some random person who offers you an ear, a listen, and just who's there. Notice the people who are there for you.
That's so beautiful. Well, thank you guys so much. And for putting yourself out there like that, just know if anybody fucks with you, we're coming for them. I'm dead serious about that. Alani's a hunter and I am too. And you've put yourself out there, and we're gonna wrap around you and we're gonna walk this out.
Yeah.
Ashley too. Yeah. Your husband's pretty badass too. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, he was walking around in the background with his shirt off earlier, and just massive muscles, and I was like, all right, yeah, you're in good hands.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we've been kind of talking about, I know we've been talking about my mom, Jamie, and just me a lot, but I do want to shout out my Aunt Ashley. She's pretty awesome. I know she seems pretty badass, and she's just kind of big law enforcement, big bad girl, but she's got a heart of gold, and she helps us so much. She's kind of the heart of the operation here. So yeah, just big shout out to me.
I love you.
All the love, guys, and we'll be talking soon, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alani. Bye.
Recording stopped.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Thank you for listening to the Pay Love Forward podcast. If this conversation moved you, inspired you, or made you pause to reflect, don't let it end there. Pay Love Forward is more than a podcast. It's a movement, a community, a way of being. At its heart is a simple commitment to invest in others in ways that multiply. In partnership with Resilient Stories, we're committed to hearing the story within the story, the deeper narrative of courage, compassion, and renewal that reminds us who we are and what we're capable of together. If you'd like to walk with us, find a mentor, find a mentee, or join one of our community gatherings. You can connect through Facebook or visit www.payloveforward.net to learn more. Let's keep building something beautiful together.